Ready?
Hey everybody, welcome to the MMA Heat podcast. I'm Karyn Bryant.
What's up, everyone? Alan Jouban here.
So listen, we are of course going to be talking about UFC Brooklyn, UFC on ESPN. It's
Man,
the first one. But Alan, before we get into all that stuff, you've been shooting a movie. How's that been going?
yeah, I've been shooting a movie. It's the story of H.E.A.T, who was a prisoner of war and became a professional boxer. And it's kind of an inspiring story, but like with any of these stories, it's also got a love scene and it's got some heartache and a lot of things going on. But I'm honored to be a part of the movie as a fighter. It's been rough, though. I think I said on the last podcast, we're shooting nights, which is completely opposite of my schedule. So I'm living the double life as of lately, shooting all night long, coming home, getting a couple hours of sleep, and trying to get my training session in, and the father and husband and all the other things that are necessities. So it's been an educational experience, but I'm exhausted. I can't wait for this week to be done and just hopefully sleep for like 2 days straight.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. Well, I got back last night from New York, and the whole production. It was different. It was fun. I mean, we can get into some of that stuff, but more important. Well, maybe not more importantly, but as importantly, Alan, I have to. I'm not really going to apologize because it wasn't my fault. Because I agree that you got robbed. I really was looking forward to a Pat Saints Super Bowl game. We would have been able to wager. We would have been able to put it on the line. But I had to watch the end of the Rams game and the whole Patriots game on the plane yesterday.
Oh,
and
you
I
watched it on the plane?
Fully bugging out, trying to watch that on a plane where I couldn't scream. You can't scream on a plane. Do you know what I mean? And so I'm sitting there. And if you look at my Twitter feed from Sunday, you see me bugging out at various moments because at first it was so crazy. We're watching the Rams game. There's 16 seconds left. And the lady comes on the microphone and she's like, yeah, there's some TVs on the plane that aren't working. So we're going to do a hard reboot. And all the TVs are going to go off. And they might be gone for 10 minutes. And we're all like, no. Right? And then she kills him. There's 16 seconds left in the Rams game and stuff. We're like, what are you doing?
Oh,
At least it was tied. But we're like, lady, what are you doing? And she didn't know. And then she's all apologetic. And I felt bad. But everybody's bugging out because we were all watching it. Then anyway, it comes back on in time for the kickoff. And, we didn't miss any crazy play at the end of the game. But then it comes to the time for the Patriots game. And I'm like, all right. And I got a guy sitting next to me who's not a Pats fan. But we were being friendly and stuff. Go to turn it on. The TV's not coming on. And I joked about it being first world problems, but I was like, look, my TV in my plane is not coming on and I have a problem. And so then I'm there, and so then I'm like, is the Wi-Fi working? I'm literally in the plane, went through the airplane Wi-Fi, I called up my Dish app. I'm watching it on my phone because the channel wouldn't come in. Then the lady comes on and she goes, oh, I'm sorry, folks. There's one channel that's not going to be available on this flight, and that's CBS. I was like, are you kidding me right now? So we're bugging out. So I'm watching the first half on my phone. The internet's cutting in and out. It's blurry. I'm bugging out. Then finally, it came on. The TV did come on for the second half, but I'm fully bugging. And there's other people around me, and nobody was rooting for the Patriots. Do you know what I mean? I'm in the plane, yes, and clapping and this and that, but trying not to yell. It is so difficult to watch something like that intense when you have to keep it zipped. It was crazy.
I can imagine. I wasn't in the same situation.
Right.
But I've learned my lesson. I was in kind of a similar situation where I was at a friend's house, and I didn't even think about it, that I was at a friend's house in L.A., which everyone there was going to be a Rams fan.
Right.
And I get it. I live in L.A., and L.A. is my second home, not my current home. So, maybe I will root for the Rams somewhat, but I grew up with the Saints, and I grew up, everyone around you is diehard Saints. And so to be in an environment where I was the only Saints fan and everyone was high-fiving above me when bad things would happen, it was weird. It reminded me of, I saw a text, a tweet that mentioned you in it about, thank God Karyn Bryant was on ESPN, because it felt like when you go to a party and you don't know anyone.
Yeah, that was sweet.
And then you see a familiar face, and that's what you brought to ESPN. I thought you did a great job of that. And that's how I felt watching the Saints game. I didn't know anyone there, in terms of Saints fans.
Right.
So it was a tough loss. I had to go and weep in the corner while everybody else was high-fiving after. So never again. I think from now on I will watch games at my house by myself if that has to come up. But congratulations to the Pats.
Thanks.
I didn't really care. I didn't have a dog in the fight in that game. But I've said this before on this show, I do love to see history being made. I'm all about that kind of stuff, like watching Cowboy, for instance, do things and break records.
Right.
And I love to see people set records and be a part of that and say, I was there. I was part of history.
Right.
Tom Brady does that every time he steps on the field, so I was happy for him. And it should be a fun Super Bowl. But I mean, when you talk about heartbreaking, heart-wrenching losses, when the Saints lost to the Vikings a couple years ago in that last second play, and for this one again, it was a tough pill to swallow.
It was brutal, and I definitely was rooting for the Saints. That's the thing. I have a ton of, besides you, ton of friends that are Saints fans. And I agree with you. Like, I live in LA, but that doesn't feel like my team yet. You know what I mean?
Right. It's so new.
It's not really my team yet. So I was fully rooting for the Saints. And I know everybody's like talking about how they got robbed. I mean, obviously officiating is always going to be a thing. People always think the Pats get, favorable officiating. And I've been just trying to tell people, I'm like, look, Patrick Mahomes is going to be fine. Like, that guy is a future legend. You know what I mean? It just wasn't his time today, and Tom's still the GOAT. But it's funny because you get into it on Twitter, and, like, Eric Anders is getting at me because he's one of those guys that just, thinks that the refs, always favor Tom. And we're going back and forth on Twitter and stuff. And it's funny. It was fun. It was a good game. Listen, I totally get why people are mad at us. But I didn't think there was really any controversy at the end of that one. Like, I don't really know that people can complain.
I don't think that the Pat game was as controversial as the Saints game. Obviously, we had that big pass interference penalty that didn't get called,
right?
And that was a hard one to swallow for us. But for you guys, there was some questionable stuff back and forth. But that's football. That's playoffs. The intensity is always greater, so the calls become a lot more tougher. To me, the play of the game though was what's your big tight end again with the elbow brace?
You're talking Edelman
on the Patriots.
Are you talking Edelman?
No, the big white guy tight end that always wears that big elbow brace.
Oh, yeah.
I can't think of his name all of a sudden. I'm blanking.
I'm sorry. I'm blanking on it too. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Anyway, he's probably got like one season left or whatever, and he had missed the ball and almost got intercepted.
Oh yeah, no, I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
And then, but the Chiefs dropped it. On the next play, he comes back, makes a huge play, gets the first down, gets them in the scoring position. Yeah. They scored. To me, that was the momentum killer right there for the Chiefs, and that was Tom Brady. But it was also what's his name, who we're both blanking on, but the tight end redeeming himself, and that's kind of where the momentum of the game shifted. Gronk, thank you. Gronkowski, he made a bad play, almost cost him the game. If the Chiefs would have intercepted it, that would have been ball game.
Right.
And then it got turned over, and they went back to Gronk again. Gronk makes a huge play, a huge catch, gets the first down, gets them in scoring. That was it. I don't think it was so much bad calls. It was big plays by players like Gronkowski and Tom Brady.
Yeah, they're money. So it's going to be fun. So that was entertaining. But yeah, the first show on ESPN, I think people should know, like, the post show is still up. I don't know. I got some tweets. People like, that sucks. You guys aren't doing a post show. Like, yeah, we are. We did a long one, and it was fun. I mean, and we had Henry Cejudo up there with us. It actually was a really great conversation with him. We had part of the TJ press conference in there, all kinds of stuff. So it should just be on demand there on the ESPN Plus app.
So the ESPN thing for me as a viewer, right? I was watching this as a fan. I'm noticing little production things, obviously, but I think I was watching it from the perspective of most fans, and it's a tough balance right now for me. Trying to figure out, is some things do I not like so much, or is it just anytime there's change, you have to get familiar with it. Right. Anytime there's a new voice, you haven't heard this voice, and it's like, I don't know yet. So I think.
So you're talking with like Trevor Whitman and stuff.
The Trevor Whitman, at first when he came on, I was a little bit not sure. Okay. But then I think it was also his experience. He warmed up. He kind of got the momentum. He got the pace. The coming out of a round, the opening of the next round, it has to be a fast pace. Let this happen, and then get back to the commentary. He got the pace of it. He got much better. I thought Trevor Whitman did a good job progressing as it went on. Stephen A. Smith, it was a hard sell for me. You could tell that he obviously doesn't watch a lot of fights. He's great at what he does, but he's a specialist at certain categories like basketball and football and certain other sports. To bring him into a new sport that he's not familiar with, but he's still trying to do the Stephen A. Smith thing, it wasn't really working. If we have another show, maybe he learns a little more. Maybe we warm up to it. And the production as well, just kind of going back and forth, watching ESPN on the app, there was so many commercial breaks where it just cuts, and it's like, it just says commercial break. It doesn't show you anything. So now, as a viewer, we're not getting to see the corners in between rounds. We're not getting to see normal commercials. The screen goes blank and it says commercial break. And so that was a little bit, I don't know if I can get used to that, but there was a lot of little things that as a fan, I think we need to just, pump the brakes a little bit. Let ESPN get everything together. Let the analysts and everybody start to vibe with one another. And then let us get used to the new voices, new commentary, new style that's being brought in by ESPN.
Well, it's interesting you say some of that stuff because some of it I obviously don't know because I didn't see it. You know what I mean? So I wasn't watching. Like, I would see some people saying their stream was great. Other people were saying theirs was hiccuping or whatever. So that part I don't know. In terms of the Stephen A. Smith thing, they kind of sprung that on me last minute-ish. And like you can see the thinking process behind it, right? Like, hey, let's say you were a regular ESPN watcher and you don't usually watch MMA, but you know Stephen A. Smith. Let's put Stephen A. Smith on the air.
Yeah, he's a trusting guy.
People who are less familiar. I don't know if that will happen again. We'll see. You know what I mean? Because I don't think the feedback was very positive on it. I know it actually frustrated me quite a bit, if I'm being honest, which I may as well be. And I don't think it's a great service to the fans, but it's not my choice. Obviously, it's not my call. But I understand the reasoning. Like, I totally understand from a network point of view why they would want to do that. But yeah, people got gave him a lot of pushback online. I saw. As far as the commercial thing, I think what it is so. It airs on the app here and stuff in the States, but some places it's on TV internationally. So I guess like we're on BT Sport or on TSN. And so I think sometimes those breaks were for when we're being broadcast on a TV network. And so maybe they don't really have to put them in for us here in the States or whatever, but that's why. Because it did affect how I did my show. Like I didn't really ever, like on a pre-show, on the post-show, I never said, coming up or after the break or anything like that. Because we never had a commercial break officially. There were just a couple times when I would say something and then they were like, okay, just pause for 3 seconds and then keep going. So I never built in a commercial, I never threw to a commercial.
Interesting.
So it's true. Like you said, it's the first time out. There'll be some, changing of some things. One thing I'm curious if you like though, because I totally liked it now it's not really a weigh-in show. It's our combination sort of pre-show. But when the guys come in and now it is like football where it's like Alan Jouban, welterweight, Lafayette State, you know what I mean? And they like announce their own thing and they're like, I got 10 wins by knockout and such and such. Like, I thought that was cool for the fighters to introduce themselves.
I didn't see that.
Oh, yeah, it's pretty cool.
So where was that at? That was during
Friday, on Friday when we're doing the pre-show and we're showing the weigh-ins, because now basically there's no weigh-in show and pre-fight show. There's a pre-show which combines the weigh-ins and just other discussion. So sometimes, and I don't know if they're doing it only for the ranked people or I'm not sure how they determine who does those. But kind of like on football, and they're like, okay, let's start showing you the defensive line. And the guys pop up, they tell you where they went to college and stuff like that.
Oh.
So now they're doing it with the fighters. And so, next time you'll be like, Alan Jouban, and I'm welterweight out of, whatever, and fighting for Saxon or, whatever you want to say. But it was cool. I kind of liked how that would, that happened. And, they're changing some of the graphic thing. But I thought that part was cool.
No, that's cool. I have to see it. I have to see it. But I know what you mean. I know how to do that in football when the offensive line comes up and they say, offensive lineman out of, whatever, Ohio State University.
Right. Ohio State or whatever. That's what they always say, or whatever they.
The U or whatever.
Right.
So I got to check it out. I didn't get to see it. There's a lot of things that were kind of missed just because, like you said, I think the general fan viewership is not used to the routine yet, and we will get there. The fights at the same time, but all the shows and everything, everyone was still connecting the dots. I was literally purchasing the ESPN Plus app minutes into at 3:30 when the event had already started. So I'm still going through the process as everything was happening. So I think after a couple shows, a lot of people will catch on, and then also with ESPN, they're going to find out what works, what doesn't work, and fix those flaws.
Right. And I think I got a press release, they said on Friday, supposedly they signed up over 500,000 subscribers for ESPN Plus.
I saw that online.
That's kind of incredible.
Yeah.
Because it was funny because on the presser afterwards, Dana was like, he said something like, somebody asked if you reached expectations. It's like, did we reach expectations? He's like, we murdered expectations and da-da-da-da-da. And he's talking. So then after the show, I see the ESPN execs and I'm like, that's awesome. You guys murdered it on the numbers. He's like, I'm not really sure about that number thing yet. He said, maybe Dana knows something I don't know. And I'm like, no, I'm like, he's our promoter. I said, but I have a feeling I believe him, but they were like, yeah, we actually don't have the figures right in front of us, but he's like,
That's
they were all happy with how everything was going. Like they were really excited. And I think especially, I know that the main event, and the co-main event, had some controversy in terms of the way they ended. But I think maybe whatever the feedback they were getting and stuff, like they were very happy at the end of the night on Saturday.
Good.
So if they're happy, I'm happy.
Yeah, I mean, we want to go into this relationship with good vibes and a good result, a good product. Like the first UFC on Fox was that Cain Velasquez getting knocked out, and I remember thinking like, oh, is this good or bad? It was a knockout, but it was kind of a little soon. We wanted to show the world what we're about a little bit more, not just a quick knockout. And so I was kind of torn on that one. So this being our first show on ESPN, I saw that. And I also saw a report saying that it was over 500,000 subscribers within only Friday and Saturday, Friday and Saturday alone.
Right.
So that's huge in my mind. I don't know what the normal numbers are, but if they just got over 500,000 in 2 days and it's $5 a pop, then it's an extra little chunk of change they have coming in.
No, it's great. And like what you just said, I love that you understand the mentality of like what happened on the first show doesn't even necessarily mean it's even going to happen again on the second show or third show. There's going to be a lot of learning. I'm not working the next show. The next show's in Fortaleza. I think it's Brendan on that one. I'm not on that one. My next show, I think, is Phoenix, the big ESPN one. The first one that's on like the actual network or whatever.
Gotcha.
But I want to, that's a good place to actually start because that Cowboy Cerrone fight was so dope. So dope. And so like if you could have just literally put that fight on and been like, this is what MMA is, and this is why you need to sign up for ESPN Plus. Like they could have just shown like that fight. And that's all. And I bet you 1 million people would have signed up anyway. 500,000 people would have signed up. That fight was so sick. I loved everything about it. I don't know about you, but earlier in the week, like I didn't know Alexander Hernandez was like that. I didn't know he was that confident, bordering on cocky or whatever. I didn't know
Very
that.
borderline.
I didn't really hear him speak. I just kind of read interviews with before. I hadn't ever spoken to him myself really. So earlier in the week, he kind of really made me sort of stand up and take notice. I was like, oh, okay, this kid, got something to say here. And the fact that, just the way it played out and Cowboy was able to get the win for the old dog, for the old school. And like, after you poke a bear like Cerrone, this is what you're going to get. Like, I loved everything about that fight. And I think Alexander Hernandez does have an incredible future. I mean, the guy like landed some seriously great shots and everything. But I just thought that fight was like encompassed everything that we love about the sport.
It encompassed everything that we love about the sport, and it just encompassed everything that we love about Cowboy Cerrone. Like it's weird because when people are still fighting and I'm fighting, it's like you don't want to throw around the legend term or things like that because this could be a future opponent. Yeah. But I've always said this, like there's things about him that are just relatable to me. He's kind of like that country boy that I kind of have at heart. His fighting style obviously is just inspiring and relatable to everyone. But like you said, he's the old dog. He comes in there. He doesn't try to – he's very genuine. He's like, look, we were in the back. You weren't saying nothing, but now you're in the front and you got all this stuff to say. We're on the same floor, dude. If we got something to say, we can – and so I really enjoy that. People enjoy the genuine – type of character that he is. But that fight going in there, we both were kind of like, this is a dangerous fight. We were very worried, and our hunch was correct. We went in there, and Cowboy maybe almost didn't get out of that first round. He ate some big shots. His eye was starting to swell up immediately into the fight after catching that left hook, and Alex was coming on strong. Alex said it after. He said, like, he's not really used to dealing with adversity. He's used to coming on strong or being in a dominant fashion. And that's the experience. That's what the tough guys, that's what the top 5, the top 10, all these guys possess, is that ability to change your momentum, to come around, to take those big shots and weather the storm and come back and through it. Cowboy's just a master of it. You can just see, like, he would get hit, but then he would find those small, minute openings where some people are still resetting, and he would pop. He would put his shots in. And, man, were you surprised how much he was cutting up Alexander so soon?
Yes. I was.
Like the damage he was taking.
Yeah, I was very surprised. And it's funny because, sitting there, actually we weren't sitting, we were on our feet, of course, with Rashad and Mike. I'm with two old school, I'm with two Hall of Famers, you know what I mean? I'm with two other legends, and so of course they're all in on Cowboy, and Mike's like, that little disrespectful punk Hernandez, you know what I mean, and this and that, and Cowboy and Sugar used to train together, so like we're all, like really behind Cowboy in this one, and just really wanting him, to prove a point, and that you still got it and all this stuff. And so it was such an incredible fight. And yeah, I agree. I didn't expect Hernandez to get busted up like that. And there were a couple times when, Cowboy was in trouble, but just dug deep. And to your point about Alex kind of taking it right, like I even shared it on our MMA Heat Instagram. Like he put a post out, and he understands what happened, right? Okay, because like before the fight on Friday night, I had a long talk with his manager, Jason House. He's telling me Hernandez is the guy that literally calls him at 2 a.m. He's obsessed with the game. Like, after he lost to Olivier Aubin-Mercier, he cried. He was so pissed off at himself that he didn't finish that fight. And he's like this because
he won, but he didn't finish.
Right, he won and he didn't finish the fight, so he's crying. He said, "This is the most obsessed kid I've ever met. Like all he does is live and breathe it and stuff." But he had posted in there that the win over Beneil, that 42-second knockout, he's like, that could have been the best and worst thing that ever happened to me, because basically, I learned to like train myself and just go out and destroy somebody in the first round, and I planned for that. And like you said, if he had no backup plan for adversity, he had no, and I know you never want to think you aren't going to win, but you also have to imagine, hey, that guy's probably pretty good too. Yeah. And him being so single-minded in his own focus didn't allow him to recognize that others were going to be doing things to him, and that he would have to dig. And I liked what he said. I thought he understood the loss the right way, and I feel like he's already a very good fighter, and I think he's going to be even better, but I think that was a really important lesson that he needed to learn.
Yeah, I couldn't help but feel after that fight or after the entire card, after the TJ fight, which we'll get into, at first I was thinking, man, TJ must feel the weight of the world on his shoulders, the pressure or the negativity that's going to come his way after this. Okay. I feel really bad for him. But then I also thought, man, the other person that might be feeling it the most on this card is Alexander, because Alexander's the one that talks so much of a game, how he's just going to run through Cowboy, and for Cowboy to finish him in the fashion that he did, the comeback, and for Cowboy to just like get the momentum of the entire arena, it seemed like. And everybody was kind of like, everybody was just posting that Cowboy, oh my God. And then the Cowboy to possibly get this McGregor lineup that they were talking about, matchup. I mean, it's just like, and he gets a double bonus if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, he did.
As well.
He made an extra $100,000.
I mean, it was just like, holy crap, Alexander, you kind of messed up. But I don't want to be too hard on him. It just, that was my instinctual feeling after the fight. But like you said, the post that Alexander posted, it shows he's a smart guy. He's an intelligent guy. He is going to be a world beater at some point. He just got a little bit more to learn, but he's a tough guy for anyone. And he learned a lot. It was one of those fights that was a loss that you learn a bunch from it. And like you said, he's a smart dude. He knows the mistake he made. He's going to learn from it. So it's going to be a tough matchup for whoever his next opponent is if he fixes those mistakes.
Agreed. And it's so... That whole thing about Cowboy and Conor and for a fight like that, I'll fight you and all that. I mean, that would be a great fight. That's a fight that everybody would want to see. It's a winnable fight for both guys. I think it would be really exciting. Dana seemed to be kind of fired up. I mean, he didn't, announce it, and he, obviously isn't going to make those kind of decisions. But that would be pretty hot. That'd be a great fight.
I was happy with the response that Dana gave.
Yeah.
Normally, it's hard to read Dana. He's a promoter. He's got to do his job. He's always got to make things seem one way, even if they're not that way. But knowing Dana the way that we know his response is, if something is not happening, he'll usually say, well, we'll have to see what happens or something. He'll say something like that to kind of push it off. But for him to say, well, look, if both guys want it and the fans want it, I'm not opposed to it. Right. That means that he's open to it. Yep. Maybe they have to figure out the numbers and figure out if this makes sense in the picture, the money picture, and the contender picture to the belt type of thing. But other than that, Dana seemed very genuinely open to it, which gives us hope that this is a fun fight. And you know what? You make this fight for Cowboy and Conor. Sorry. Then that makes the other picture a little bit more clear. Mm-hmm. Now we have 3 guys left with Tony and Khabib and Dustin Poirier.
Yeah.
Whereas before, like, there was still 4 guys kind of floating around wondering which matches are being made. Now you make one match that makes the other matches a little bit easier or a little bit more clear. Right. But it's 3 is an odd number, so somebody might get. Things are starting to happen, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's true. Well, there was a lot of fun fights. Also, I don't know how you felt like on some of those prelims, like if you wanted to talk about like Gillespie and Yancy or Paige and Rachael. And I just want to say the Rachael situation, I spoke to her afterwards. I saw her before I left. And, Megan did a sit down with her, which aired on the pre-show and stuff. And I guess it was a really long, a lot longer interview than they were able to show. But Megan was saying like she was really emotional in it. Like Megan was even crying, and shit, it was a really intense interview. And even the things that they did air though were really they are intense, but it's really important, the stuff that Rachael was talking about. So some of the things I guess that didn't make it on the air, we're hoping come out. But I was saying to Rachael after too, like her, to be able to speak out on what happened to her and be candid with people, and as painful as that is, she's really is doing a great service for other victims, other women, and it's important. And I know it was a tough fight for her, and certainly doesn't want to lose. But I told her, I said, look, this is a victory. You're here, you're here right now, and met her little baby girl and stuff, and I just, it's definitely a victory for her. And so I feel like I hope she's all right after. I hope she's all right.
Tough fight. I was definitely rooting for both women. I like both women. And obviously from the circumstances, I was just hoping something good came from it. I gotta say, I don't know a lot about her corner or her family, her training regimen, but I was a little shocked, I guess, when I believe on the broadcast they said that her corner consisted of her mom, her dad, and her brother. And so I didn't know if that was just more so because she wanted that emotional support, which it probably was, or if they do have a bit of a martial art experience and they do corner her from time to time. But I was a little bit worried about that because obviously if they're not somebody proficient in the game and warming you up and everything, then you want something. You want somebody that's going to be there for you. Maybe her husband or ex-husband or boyfriend was that guy before, and obviously he's out of the picture now in terms of doing that. But that worried me coming to the that she only had her family there. She might not be getting the correct advice or the correct warm-up or the correct type of motivation. Maybe they're there for emotional support, but you also need somebody that's going to motivate you, inspire you, and know how to crack the whip. So that could have been something there, but I'm not going to get into it because this was something for her. This fight, like you said, it was a victory for her just to get back into the octagon. She put on a tough performance. She didn't go her way.
She was doing well. She was winning.
She was doing well. Yeah, I don't think anybody looks at this as a negative situation. They kind of say the same thing that you just said, that like Paige got the win. Both women ended up winning, and I love that both women were supportive of one another throughout this whole fight and build up from it. So she'll be on to the next one. You mentioned Gregor Gillespie. I can't get into the fight too much. You know what? I'm really high on this guy, but not a fun fight to watch really for me. I'm not like obviously a B-level fan where I'm like, oh, he's hugging him the whole time. But I do like to see excitement, and there was not a whole lot of excitement in this fight.
Well, it's funny because Gregor came up to the desk with us after the fight, and he's a good guy. He's an entertaining guy, actually, has a good sense of humor. He comes up, and Bisping just lays into him. Bisping basically told me, he's like, that's the most boring freaking fight I've ever seen in my life.
Okay.
He's like all over me. He's like, dude, I get it. You're good. He's like, that was boring. And Gregor's like sitting right there, and they're going back and forth, and they're taking it. And Gregor makes a good point, though. He said, look, I get it, if you don't like my wrestling, I get that, you're frustrated by it. He said, but if you stick with me, eventually it does build up to a finish. He's like, I will wear them down, and eventually you are going to get that finish. It's just, it may not be like, that I come out guns a-blazing and get it right away. But the thing is, and I talked to Yancy after, and Yancy, he's taken the L like a man, and he's like, I just didn't prepare the right way, and next time I will be better prepared, and he was totally cool with it. But I got on Twitter when that fight was stopped, and I was like, hey, I think that's kind of BS. I said Yancy, had more to give. And some people were like, oh, that's so stupid. Like, he was getting dominated, and he's getting wailed on, and all this. I said, yeah, he was getting dominated. Yes, he was losing the fight. I said, but if you've seen the fight of Yancy and Cowboy Oliveira, go back and look at that fight. Tell me how many times you thought that Yancy was done. and then get back to me. You know what I mean? Because Yancy was like murdered in that fight, and then he came back and won. You know what I mean? That was a stand-up war, too. He's getting punched like hell. They're beating the out of each other. A real fight. You know what I mean? And he still came back from that. So for me, watching him get wrestled, and tossed around, it's like a orca with a baby seal the way, Gregor has control over people. I saw Yancy on Saturday. He has he's not beat up. Do you know what I mean? I didn't like that stop.
Yeah. He definitely wasn't beat up. He didn't wear the damage a whole lot. But, as far as positional dominance, he was getting dominated in that aspect. But at the end of the day, we know what it is. Gregor's a very smart guy in terms of the way that he broke it down on the microphone and to you guys. He said, look, I know it wasn't that entertaining, but there's a method to this.
Right.
And I get that, and he's completely right. But now we're splitting hairs. Now we're overanalyzing little things, because at the end of the day, you need to make people say, I got to watch this guy fight. And if people do not say that when we're splitting hairs, saying, but, just bear with it.
Right. How do you promote that?
Yeah, how do you watch a movie that is like boring for an hour, but they say, but you got to watch the ending, just stick with it. That's not a great movie. We want to watch a movie that's great in its entirety, and it's the entertainment business, and it goes for both of them. I couldn't help but think the entire time, and I'm not just saying this because Ben Askren is in my weight class, but I couldn't help but think the entire time that I'm worried. I'm worried that this is the kind of stuff that might possibly see a lot of once Ben Askren comes into the UFC. Because Big Ben Askren is very much a great wrestler, dominant as soon as he gets a hold of you. But the thing is, Ben Askren's striking compared to Gregor's is much lower than Gregor. I mean, Gregor has really good striking, but he just leans on his grappling tremendously. Ben Askren has not good striking, and he leans entirely on the striking. So it worries me that bringing in Ben, they're kind of making a big deal about him because he is a tremendous wrestler and he's undefeated in his career. But if bring in somebody and hype him up, and they're putting on these very boring fights, I wouldn't be too keen to throw this guy in a bunch of co-main events or main events or super fights right away, because you're gonna get your feelings hurt. You're gonna get let down because you're gonna see some non-inspiring performances, and then some of the faithfuls might say, "Oh well, dude, this guy is so dominant in wrestling." Right. But at the end of the day, I get it. But did you really enjoy that fight? Were you screaming and hollering? Could you sit down or stand up during that fight? I guarantee you were sitting down with your feet up, because you're not standing up during this type of fight. So at the end of the day, this isn't about Ben Askren, but that's what it brought to mind watching Gregor fight. He needs to think a little bit more about the entertainment value, not so much about just being where he's comfortable, because he knows that eventually there might be an opening.
Yeah, you're absolutely right there. And I had said to Rashad at one point, I'm like, it's like John Fitch. Totally great. Yes, really, really good. Very dominant. Great at what he does. But yeah, like you said, people weren't sitting there clamoring, oh man, can't wait. But the thing is you could argue, and I talked to Gregor about it, I'm like, because Habib does the same thing to people. He wrestles them, he dominates them, but he puts more into it at the ground and pound. I agree. He's just more explosive. Once he gets you there, he does more with it.
I agree 100%. See, people sometimes say that. They'll argue, well, Khabib just wants to wrestle you.
Right.
But he mauls you. He mauls you on the ground. Every position that he has, he lands 10 punches. He switches position, he lands 10 punches. He is constantly busy. He has mastered 50% of his body thinking about positional dominance and 50% of his body thinking about striking.
Right.
Where other people are committed to entirely just hanging on you. So, yes, he is looking for the takedown, but he's looking to damage you. Every fight that he's been in, he has damaged his opponents a lot.
Exactly. So yeah, that was fun, and I was happy for Glover.
Me too.
The other card, but
tough fight for him.
Totally, and coming back after digging deep, and coming back and getting the win. And I just read something today. I guess he was saying he wouldn't mind a fight with Shogun in Brazil, but I'm like, I don't want to see them fight each other.
Yeah.
I don't like Brazil on Brazil crime when it comes to some of the legendary older guys. I don't like that. I mean, it'd be a fun fight. They're both so heavy-handed, and it probably wouldn't be really long, a long fight and stuff. But it's a great. It makes sense, but I'd get sad to see Glover and Shogun fight each other. I wouldn't like that.
I agree. It doesn't really make sense. I mean, unless it's some type of backstory beef that we don't know about. But other than that, they're both nice guys. And like you said, they're both older fighters in the game. And then when you go to Brazil, you want to see Brazil versus the world. You don't want to see legendary Brazil versus legendary Brazil. It just, I don't care for that fight either.
I don't like it. Speaking of Brazil, Ariane Lipski debuted, and I thought she was going to do better than she did. And I also thought it was going to be a stand-up fight. I was very impressed with Joanna Calderwood. I think she's really showing a lot of improvements. So I thought that was a good fight for Joanne. And, for Lipski, it's her debut. She'll be fine. She's totally adorable. That girl's going to get more fights and everything. I think she'll be fine.
What's her name? The violent princess?
The Queen of Violence, yeah.
Queen of Violence. The UFC was very much kind of promoting the Queen of Violence, especially for a debuter. And look, I get it. She's a really good striker, and she's a really cute girl. I was more impressed by Calderwood in this fight. I mean, like the thing that the fight started, and I go, this girl's cute. Oh, that's a nice strike. That's a nice combo. She's got good kicks. And then Calderwood put it on her instead of pushing her back. I was like, oh, but look at the experience right here. Putting her against the cage, smothering her, taking her down. Like, she fought fantastic. I was more impressed by her than the Queen of Violence. The Queen of Violence.
Yeah, no, I think Calderwood, she's just getting so. I was very impressed with her performance. And also, we thought it was going to play out on the feet. They're both Muay Thai strikers. Then all of a sudden, they're on the ground, and it's jiu-jitsu. And I was pleasantly surprised with Joanna. Not that I don't think she's good, but like she just seems to be really getting a lot better out at Syndicate. So I'm happy for her. But I got to ask you about the Greg Hardy thing. So obviously, going into this whole thing, it was tough to have to promote a person who, was a wife beater. And he was found guilty of those crimes. And the only reason he didn't go to jail for them is because the woman didn't show up to testify against him. So the charges were dropped. They're cleared from his record. So for all legal intents and purposes, he didn't do it. But we know his history. That said, I believe in trying to let people have another chance. And I didn't meet him during the week. I didn't speak with him. I know Megan and Rashad and Mike did. They liked him a lot. They liked him a lot. In terms of that fight, though, and I did sort of tweet it out that when they were fighting, and I literally stood there, I said, oh, Rashad, here comes the illegal knee. And, of course, it came. But I wasn't, when I said that, it wasn't like, oh, here, this thug is going to do something cheap. To me, it was literally like that position that Crowder's in right now is such a tenuous position that I don't think he's going to have the awareness to know to not throw a knee right now. And that, you know what I mean? And then he threw it. So I don't want to be misinterpreted as saying, oh, look at this shady figure out here cheating his way and fighting dirty. That's absolutely not what I meant. It was just that I could tell, with that lack of experience, that position, knees, hand, it's so delicate, And in his defense, it's weird to say this, but look, Eddie Alvarez threw an illegal knee. When Gegard and Chris fought, that was a real. Gegard timed it perfectly, but people thought that was a close call too. I mean, you seasoned veterans do it too sometimes. It's the heat of the moment thing. So I totally understand that. It's a real unfortunate way to happen on his debut. But I will say this, and then somebody got after me. They were like, "Oh, you're defending him." No, in the post-fight press conference, though, the stuff that he said, I believed him. I thought he was sorry. I thought he said all the right things, and I personally thought he meant them. So I'm going on that. I can't keep judging this person on his past. I want to judge him for what's here in the here and now, and I thought he said the right things, and I thought he meant them.
It's a tough one. It's a tough situation for Hardy, and all we could do as outsiders is speculate because we don't know what was going through his mind.
Right.
And it would be wrong, as you said, to use someone's past to put that into the current situation. It is a delicate situation. And especially the momentum of things. Like you said, you've named some other fight. Eddie Alvarez has done it. The one time that I've had a point taken in a fight was for an illegal knee. Yes.
Oh, wow.
And so it was a little bit different circumstance, but nonetheless, it's a situation where I thought somebody was getting up. I threw a knee, and they got caught. This one was a little bit different. It was obviously that he was down. It was obvious that he was down. But he's new to the game. And he's got a rush of momentum. The thing I always say this, when you're a new fighter, you're all offense. It takes a while to learn the defense, the patience, the timing, all that. You learn how to throw a 1-2 and you knock somebody out. You go, I love this shit because I can throw a 1-2. It takes the other little subtleties to kind of take time to set in. That's one of them, having the patience or the wherewithal to know where he's at, or should I switch to a different move?
Right.
But he just threw, let me just go forward. Let me throw my offense. And it was bad timing. You saw later on, Henry Cejudo, when he hurt T.J. Dillashaw, he had T.J. Dillashaw on his knees. And I was thinking, oh, my God, not another illegal knee. Henry Cejudo, he's been in this sport a little bit longer. He stayed with the punches. He didn't throw any illegal knees. He knew he had to make this perfect. It was a title fight. Yeah. A lot more up for grabs on this one. So it's just tough. I think everybody that said, what you said, what I think it was DC said, it's all the truth. It's not going to look good for Greg Hardy. What he needed to do was come out here, put on a great performance, and as I said before, maybe get on the mic and bring up some of these elephants in the room and just say, look, I'm a changed person, and I want to earn your trust. Right. Instead, it got even worse for him. Throwing a disqualification, throwing an illegal strike like that, people are just not going to root for you. People are not going to be on your side, especially when they're already borderline. So he's really going to have to come through in his next fight or in the next couple of press conferences. He's got a lot of work ahead of him in a young career. A lot of work ahead of him. He is with American Top Team. I mean, it's a great team. They know how to make a great fighter. But yeah, I mean, I'd be lying if I didn't say there was a part of me that's like, karma's a bitch. You know what I mean? Like, there's a little part of it, but it could have been. I mean, it could have been. Say again? I said it could have been. I mean, it could have been karma. It could have just been like, you made some bad decisions and you just made another one. Now you're learning we got to be a little bit more well thought out when we do stuff. But as we said, we should really talk about this and take apart these two instances, and we should break it down like that. But you have to think of it as a whole, that it's just like you said, he's got a long road ahead of him before it becomes a fan favorite by anybody. Yeah, and the fight, though, was kind of funny. I mean, like, when they were on the ground, obviously it wasn't great. Yeah. He has 0 ground game, so obviously he needs to get a ground game. But, I mean, it was kind of fun to watch them throw some heavy leather at each other. You know what I mean? There were a couple of exchanges. I was like, damn. Man, he's a big guy, too. Big guy. I don't know. When you see him on camera, I don't know, his head or something. He doesn't look like a... like a Bigfoot cell. Like, it doesn't look like an enormous type man. But then when you see him next to somebody, I don't know if he's got like a big butt or something, like his legs, or I can't figure it out. He's a defensive end, so he's low and heavy. He's a okay, so that's what it is. He's got like big legs, a big ass. I don't know what it is. He just looks enormous next to his opponent sometimes, man. It's a weird thing. Big dude. He's a big dude. Well, and here's the thing, right? So now it'll be interesting to see how long it is until he does fight again, and like how they promote him. Right now, is he going to just be the most hated man in MMA, and that's how he's going to be promoted, or is he now going to be even more on the apology tour and the road to redemption? Like, it's going to be really interesting to see what they do. But Dana was like, yeah, he'll fight again. I'm not cutting the guy, Yeah, I feel like taking the heel role might not be a good look. I don't think he would do that. No, he shouldn't. I don't think. Yeah. Don't be like, I'm going to embrace this. Don't embrace it. But I could see, like, he speaks pretty well. You could see that he's like media trained, or at least media experience from his NFL career. When he speaks to the media, like afterward, he was saying, like, I've never cheated in my life, and this or that. You've never seen Eagle. He's very proud of sacking Tom Brady. Yeah. He brings that up, and so you can see that he knows what he's doing. He knows how to approach a situation from a verbal standpoint to defend himself, and I think he's going to stick by that and continue till it comes out the proper way that he wants this. But like I said, all we can say on this, it was a bad situation for somebody already in a bad situation. He's got a long road. It was bad. And I can only imagine, all the execs were like, oh. Yeah, or his manager, like, oh, we were about to get that sponsorship, but not now. Worst case scenario there. So, yeah, tough go there. But curious what your take is on the finish in the main event. Do you like the stoppage of Cejudo over TJ? Just like, what's your take on that fight? Tough one. You know where I stand. My standpoint is always let the fighter go out on his shield. Yeah. In this one, though, this was definitely one that I don't believe you can be mad at the referee. I don't think you can be mad at the referee because he was getting dropped. He's getting hit repeatedly. Was he out of the fight? No. Was he not able to defend himself? No. But was he taking damage? Yes. And so to me, it was equal on both parts. And that is where it becomes the referee's decision what he wants to do. And it could have gone one way, it could have gone the other, but neither one would be an awful call. If he was completely like getting up, trying to take him down, and they stopped it, then it would have been awful. Or if he was completely laid out, not defending himself, it would have been awful. But it was right there in the middle. I think you have to let the referee make that split-second call. You can't be too mad at him. I understand TJ is disappointed, especially not only because he worked so hard, as we talked about, but there was so much at stake in the super fight. But again, I'm not too mad at the referee because of he was taking hits. And I feel like the end probably would have been inevitable. But as TJ said, and as I agree, you know what? Let the inevitable happen then, because you never know. Because we always try to dig ourselves over a hole. We're fighters, and we're trying to fight out of this hole. Let us fight. Can't be mad at the ref, from my opinion on this one. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I basically agree with everything you said there. I don't have a real problem with the stoppage. I do think, TJ was definitely getting lit up, and the getting up and getting dropped again, the getting up and the, crumpling again is not a good look. But I 100% agreed. Like, he shot for the single leg. He bounced right back up when the ref got in his face. And that's the whole thing is we've seen TJ in the fights with Cody get dropped, almost get finished.
True.
I mean, TJ's a guy that, can take some damage usually, and does get damaged. Has to come back from things. So I didn't feel like, oh my God, you have to save TJ from himself here. He's not going to be able to survive this. Like, I definitely thought he could have survived, but I understand that in the moment, the way it was looking and the way Henry had the kick, and then there was one where TJ was like half up and he ate like another really big one and kind of went back. I totally understand the referee's perception there, and it is frustrating though. Like, I get it. TJ's worked so hard for so long to get to that weight. I don't think he was lying when he said he felt great. I don't. Like, I saw he was skinny as hell, but like I believed him when he said he felt good. He seemed like he felt good, And like you said, it's an attempt at history. I think you could have let it go a little longer, and also too, since wasn't it very close to the end of the round as well?
No, it was like I think.
Oh, you're right. No, sorry, that was really fast. So I'm thinking of the Yancy one.
Like
sorry,
a minute into it, it was 35 seconds.
Oh, right. It was 32 seconds. Right. So it was really, really, really fast. I don't even get hit in the head in some of the stuff. But yeah, I feel like there was so much at stake. It was such a big deal fight. It could have gone longer. And yeah, I agree that like it could have just been the inevitable, and Henry was looking great. And could have totally won that fight no matter what if it went another few minutes. And I'm happy for Henry. He came up and talked to us after, and he's a guy that, doesn't get a lot of respect. And we joke with him. We have a good relationship and stuff, but he's like, are you guys going to like finally give me some respect? We're like, dude, it's not that we don't give you any respect. Like, it's just that you are a newer champion and stuff like that. TJ's been around. TJ's a 2-time champion. He's a this, he's a that. It's not that you don't get respect, because how could you not respect the things that Henry has accomplished, beating Demetrius, beating TJ, winning a gold medal? Like, dude, I'm pretty sure you get your respect.
It's respect. It's just tough matchups. It's like when we go against Cejudo or Demetrius. Well, you got to give Demetrius the more respect because he's the more proven fighter. Same thing against TJ. I get what you're saying. Man, on that finish too. There's been fights. Okay, you weren't doing this in a fight, right? You probably weren't saying, stop the fight, stop the fight. No. You weren't saying that, I bet.
No.
I wasn't either. But there's times where I literally go, stop the fight, stop the fight. When somebody is hurt and it's not stopping. This was not one of them. So I have to give TJ the respect that, look, this was not a fight that I was saying, stop the fight at all. But it was one that I was saying, I see where the ref made that call because he's in, out. Stop it. When you're in, out, and the guy keeps falling down, it's a tough situation for him. But Cejudo, the guy is kind of incredible. The stuff that he's doing, like you said, to beat Demetrius, to beat TJ, and to have a gold medal in your back pocket as well, it's kind of incredible.
I think what it is he's just a little weird, right? I mean, he's a little odd. Like
he's a little cringy
at the weigh-ins, with the jacket and the snake thing. It's like, I get that why some people are like, oh, he's cringe or whatever. They're just so stupid. But maybe some of his jokes have fallen flat. You know what I mean? And he's a little odd. Yes, he's a little bit odd, but the guy is a tremendous fighter, and also people maybe don't know, like, he does do a lot of outreach and a lot of motivational speaking and a lot of trying to help youth. And this is a guy, I think he said he's one of 7 brothers and sisters. Definitely came up poor, didn't have things. Dad used to sell like their presents for drug money and things like that. Like, they don't. He had it tough. He had it really, really tough. And I do have to appreciate and recognize when somebody's going out and trying to be a positive influence on other people, and especially too being Mexican American in a time where being Mexican American is a crime, to some people. So I'm happy that Henry is doing some positive things, and he is the messenger. That's his whole bit, and that's like what he's saying is from. And I think that people maybe need to give him a little respect.
As soon as the fight started, Karyn, and they went to engage, and Cejudo threw that kick punch where you kind of throw a kick, but then it's really kind of a decoy to throw that punch. And it was the first combo that landed, I believe. It's something that I throw a lot, like a same side right or left. But he threw that on TJ super fast, and he landed it. And I remember thinking, crap, that was to close the distance that quickly and to be on point and land it like that. That's the foreshadowing a little bit of what might be to come, and it was. You could see, I could see when he landed it on TJ. TJ was very much surprised, and he landed something else on TJ, and TJ kind of went through, in my mind, a reset process. He kind of backed up and he kind of shook it off, and he switched stances, and he goes, all right, let me get into my flow. Let me get into my TJ flow. And right when he got into that was when that he went for a nice little strike, but he got in too deep. Cejudo went under it, and Cejudo threw him off balance. That's what was followed up by the head kick and then the inevitable punch in the back of the head thing that was the beginning of the end. But TJ just never was allowed to get into his rhythm. Yeah. But you have to give Cejudo credit. He did not allow it. He came out, the sharper, faster guy, right away and established, I'm going to be the first guy to hit you. I'm going to fight my rhythm. He made TJ do a reset and do a readjustment 30 seconds in to try to find his rhythm. By that time, it was too late. So I wanted to see more of a fight, but I have to applaud Cejudo for making this his fight. And another thing, this just popped up. I don't want to talk too long without back and forth, but were you a little nervous for Cejudo almost? Cejudo came out so nervous. And
I didn't like how he looked walking out.
It was weird. He was like down on the ground. Even when Bruce Buffer was giving him the energy, he wasn't feeding back to Bruce. He was like sitting there. TJ was all up. I was like, this is going to be a massacre. I felt bad for Cejudo. And then he came out the complete opposite. Yeah. So it's something I'm going to look out for the future fights. Does Cejudo always come out that nervous and then perform that good? Or is it, was this a one-time thing?
I don't know, because I said the same thing when I saw him coming out of the tunnel. I was like, that doesn't look like a confident man.
Not at all.
You know what I mean? Like, his eyes were just kind of wide. And
unsure of himself. He was like,
had a look of like... Yeah, I did. I said the same thing. I was like, I don't know, it's not looking too good. What do I know? Apparently, he was totally fine.
Apparently so.
Yeah, but I don't know how you feel, because, when TJ's like, I could fight, next week. I didn't take any damage. And he has put so much work in to get to 25. And it was so fast. Like, there is a part of me that's like, he makes a compelling argument that, like, he should be able to try something else here at 25 but it's not fair, right? Because then it's like, if you give him a rematch right away, a month later, then it really seems like you're just trying to find a way to let TJ beat Henry. Do you know what I mean? And then it does seem maybe disrespectful to Henry to force something so quick like that. And then they're talking, okay, maybe, Henry's like, well, I'll rematch you, but let's do it at 35 for your belt. And then TJ was like, I think he was like, well, no, I got other people to deal with here and stuff like that. Like, you're not actually the guy. It's just weird, and we don't really know, I guess, what's happening with the division. Like, is it or not? I don't think it's going away yet. But it's tricky, because also Joseph Benavidez won the other night. Joseph Benavidez already has a victory over Henry Cejudo. So it's like, if the 25ers are staying alive, let's just let some real 25ers just have a chance at a title shot then. I don't necessarily need to see a super fight rematch before seeing somebody like Joseph get a shot at the title.
Yeah, so I'm going to argue with you on this one. So, or not even argue, but I'm going to look at it from the other's perspective. for all my flyweights out there, I obviously want to see the division stay in there. And I agree. Joseph looked great. I would love to see him be able to get that other shot. I thought it was great that he was winning and Megan was working on the same show. I was real happy I was real happy for them. But I thought Henry Cejudo was kind of genius, saying, "Look, let's do it at 35." I thought that was very bold of him, because then now he has the opportunity to go up, and now he has the opportunity to be a double champ on somebody that he knows that there's that he knows he could beat. Maybe the fight will play out differently the next time, and especially at a different weight class. But Cejudo is saying, you know what? Whatever's going to happen, I'm going to try to capitalize on every huge opportunity. What he's done in beating Demetrius Johnson, what he's done in his super fight against TJ. Now going up in weight, which he's already a heavy guy, he could become the double champ, whereas TJ had the opportunity. So this is a huge opportunity for him. And if he feels confident enough that going up in weight won't make a difference in the outcome of the fight, then good for him. I think that I'm intrigued to see it. But I do think about my other flyweight guys out there that are deserving and need the momentum in the flyweight division to stick around. So whatever happens, I'm game for it. But I'm not opposed to watching another rematch between them at 35 for the 35-pound title.
Well, and it could be totally different, right? Because a lot of people are arguing, rightfully so, that cut to 25, you don't have as much water, your brain gets rattled faster, and we know TJ can recover from being dropped at 35. So yeah, it might be completely different. Like, it could totally be different. We know TJ's the man at 35. I don't know. So, it was interesting. I definitely wanted to see more of a fight. I felt like a little bit robbed, having something that only went 32 seconds, 37 seconds, something like that. Yeah. So, but all in all, it actually, still gave us a lot to talk about. And for the debut show, it's good to have something at least that people are talking about, right?
Yeah. No, all in all, it was good. Like, we wanted to see more of a main event. But I think, when you think about kind of the prelim matchup or whatnot, like with the Donald fight and some of those undercard fights, those kind of help say, okay, this is a good card no matter what happens, because they had some real intriguing fights. But I don't know, man. It's like we said, with ESPN, it's more shows, more things they just have to work out, and I think the fans will start coming on a little bit more. But I heard some other results though, Karyn. I heard like my coach Julio, my Muay Thai coach at Saxon Muay Thai, he was raving about it. He was like, I love being able to watch ESPN and watch the fights. And obviously, like, the actual ESPN TV part, that was great. Right. It's the app part that we're still figuring out. But other people didn't have the problems with the broadcast at all. Some were kind of against it. I think it's just kind of a waiting game as everybody works out the bugs and the kinks and all. But as far as the flyweight division and TJ and them, I don't know, man. I still feel bad for TJ, but Cejudo, man, he's just coming on strong, and he's proven all of us wrong. Thank God we didn't pick fights this last.
Yeah, I don't think we really did. Although I think I was thinking TJ was going to do it because he's so good, but I was
obviously wrong. The last couple of cards, I would have been 0 for 10 probably. The fights have been going every which way, but that's what makes it exciting.
Yeah, I got some of them wrong, but what was I going to say? Yeah, no, all in all, it definitely was fun, and it is fun doing the shows. I mean, they're different. They're different the way that we're done, and like I said, like, we don't have to get to commercials. We don't have scripts, so we just make stuff up. The whole post show, we just freestyle, which is really kind of fun about it. Like, it's nice to not have to be, stuck to something that we have to do, and so we just would go over, the last meal, like, okay, hey, let's maybe do it in this order, and so I'm like, okay, fine, and then, I'll just, kind of lead the conversation where we want to go. But it was nice because we had time to dig into stuff, and we had time to spend a lot more time with the fighters afterwards. And I do think, to your point about being on ESPN and it being a better situation, like, it's going to be so much better for you guys, the fighters, because in the past, maybe, they'd put, a Cain Velasquez knockout or, DC double champ, maybe that ends up on SportsCenter, but you didn't really get a lot of coverage of MMA on ESPN because it was on their number one competitor, FS1. So now that competition element is gone, you guys are going to get so much more airtime, I think. Yeah. You'll be a part of SportsCenter. You'll be involved in other things. And the visibility for all of you is going to go up a lot. So I think that's going to be really pretty great.
That's exciting just to think about that being a part of SportsCenter. Just the top 10 plays or any of that stuff is exciting for any fighter. And I got to say, I really enjoyed the beginning when they're doing like the ESPN thing where they kind of like, it's like the lights going around the ESPN, and they have ESPN and the UFC kind of coming up on the screen. I enjoyed it, being a part of ESPN now. So it's going to be fun. I can't wait to jump on one of the cards in the future sometime and see what happens. It'll be fun.
But I will say this, like I had to write it down, and I was doing this before. I had to write it down and like really practicing the UFC pre-show on ESPN Plus. Like I was like,
Fox.
Right, because I said Fox or FS1 for 6 years.
It rolls off your tongue so easy now.
Do not screw this up. So if anybody laughed, like the first few times I said it, I was so deliberate with articulating it because I didn't want to screw it up.
Pre-fight show on ESPN. Is that it? Is that what you're saying?
It was fun. But hey, so this weekend you said you are going to go to Fedor Bader, right? So we'll be, because we're going to go to Bellator, so we'll be covering all that stuff this week because it's nice. It's a home game here. I think Wednesday we're going to open workouts with like Fedor and Ryan. I think Aaron Pico's doing an open workout too. So that'll be fun. And then, I think we'll go to the press conference and stuff. So, it'll be fun. And then Saturday, we'll cover that. So I'm just like, Fedor fights are always awesome. Those are fun. And I think Ryan has a real good chance in that fight. Like that's, I think, going to be a very good fight.
I can't wait. I don't even know. I mean, I'm really there for Fedor. I hate to say it, but I'm there to watch
He's
Fedor.
Awesome.
I haven't seen him fight live, and this will be kind of a thing, but we'll be there. Hopefully we can all hang out and enjoy some good fights.
Yeah, definitely. All right, cool. So you and I are doing UFC Now tomorrow with our boy Cubby Swanson.
Yep.
And no UFC tonights on Wednesdays anymore. Got to find something to do to fill my time.
That's true.
So until then, folks can obviously follow me on Instagram at KB Heat, across all the other platforms, Karyn Bryant, and of course MMA Heat as well. Where can they find you, Alan?
Yep, don't forget to follow me, guys. Alan Jouban, across the board, all social media and YouTube as well.
Cool. Thanks for watching, guys.
Take care, guys.